I'd be really interested if you could share about winter grazing management of the fields with the gamma grass, Indian grass, etc. Alternative grasses that overwinter well for grazing. That's a good one. So with those warm seasons, the native warm seasons like the Indian grass, the big blue stem, and then as along with the planted varieties like the gamma grass, in the wintertime, those have very little feed quality.
Almost none at all.
Yeah, they turn brown like as soon as there's a hard frost.
They just melt. Like
Yeah,
they disintegrate.
they just disappear. Our saving grace in the winter is fescue, Kentucky 31 fescue, with the endophyte and everything. In the wintertime, when the fescue gets more cold on it, more snow, more frost, that endophyte level will drop.
Yeah.
But the thing, like, and we talked about this earlier, the fescue has a sod on it that can hold up our Greg's 1,000 to 1,200 pound cows, or not 1,200 pound, but 1,000 pound cows,
1,100
without pugging the pastures. It takes winter really well. It's pretty good feed quality. It's pretty good feed in the winter when the endophyte levels shrink a little bit.
But in the summertime, when it's hot as heck,
Yep.
85, 90 degrees or whatever, fescue just turns brown.
Yep.
And it doesn't grow. Like it doesn't recover very well at all. It doesn't, like if you go through months of warm period, your fescue is barely growing. It'll recovering.
Still be there, but it just doesn't grow. It just kind of stays.
Which is what you were like when you were talking about those warm seasons. They just explode.
Mm-hmm.
Like they grow like you wouldn't believe. And so having a mix of those with your cool seasons,
it's an advantage.
You have to have it. Like
they kind of like balance each other out.
Yep. And in the ecosystem itself, there should be both of those kinds of plants.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you have to go out and be worried about drilling in big blue stem or whatever. Like you shouldn't really be thinking about that. You should be thinking about let me just make sure that I'm grazing properly, rotating, coming off of, making sure that stuff recovers properly. And as long as you do that consistently, you're going to make way for all that diversity to come in.
The spots where we have a lot of Indian grass are and I don't know if I'd recommend this, but Greg bought some hay, I don't know, a few years ago that was Indian grass, but it had been baled like way too mature.
Really mature.
And if you know anything about Indian grass, when it gets like the stalk, that stem on it, cattle won't eat it. It's way too stalky. It's just unpalatable.
It's almost like a tree.
And yeah, it's basically like a tree, and that's what he had baled. So it had all the had seeds in it though, and he spread the hay. Since the cattle wouldn't eat it, he just used it to kind of cover up, pond dams that Johnny the dozer operator had just made, and on the back of those dams now is some of the best Indian grass
solid
stands
Indian
we've ever
grass.
seen. It's crazy.
It's insane. When it kicks, it's like 7 feet tall.
I've got a picture, and it's like I have the 4-wheeler here, and the gamma or the Indian grass is 4 foot taller than the 4-wheeler. You can't even see over it. It was crazy.
So cool.
But yeah, so the thing about those native warm seasons is with the big blue or the Indian grass, even like switchgrass or little blue stem, the roots on those native warm seasons are usually 2 to 3 times larger or deeper than the height of it. So if you think about that, 7 foot tall Indian grass, it's got 21 feet of roots in the ground, and when that's grazed off or trampled on the ground, a lot of those roots are burned up to then shoot, not burned up, but used to then shoot another stem up, and so that root mass becomes part of the humus
in the soil,
and that's part of building soil. So native warm seasons are super good at building soil.
Huge.
They just don't hold up in the winter, obviously.
So you just gotta have a mix.
Yep.
And there's a mix in nature. So just make sure you're not overgrazing. That's really the key.